some brightness in here. There we are. All right, I just wanted to go live today to discuss a couple of things. Honestly, I really ran out of time today. I wanted to discuss all of the Epstein files, the updates on the Epstein files, everything that we know now, everything that's being released. I'll have to do that tomorrow. So right off the bat, I'm going to say be sure to subscribe right now, right here to American Advocates for more content like this, especially if it's not your first or second time watching the video. Turn on post notifications so you're aware when I always go live, and be sure to drop a like on the video because I will be going live tomorrow, Saturday, to discuss everything that we know about the Epstein files. All of the people mentioned, all of the new revelations that have been made. It's getting pretty spicy when it comes to Epstein. I just don't have time to talk about it tonight, so I will address that part tomorrow. Tonight, though, I'm going to talk about the amusing news that occurred, of course, and that was, of course, Don Lemon being arrested today. And it's mildly amusing, put a smile on my face, but it's nothing to celebrate. And that's really what I'm going to put in the thumbnail for this video after the fact. It's not anything to celebrate, but it's mildly amusing. We can have a good laugh at it. And I want to discuss a couple of things centered around that. Mainly, first and foremost, actually, what made me the most angry today had nothing to do with the Trump DOJ. It had nothing to do with Don Lemon. It actually had everything to do with this video that I saw from fucking TMZ. Harvey Levin, the founder and executive director of TMZ, put out a YouTube video ranting on the Trump administration and ranting on this Don Lemon arrest. And you can just tell right off the bat when you watch that video, and I encourage you after this stream, go watch the video. It's like a 4 or 5 minute long video. Very short video, full somehow though, full of stupidity, full of errors. I mean, honestly, the most unprofessional. I know it's TMZ, but for the love of God, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And I took some notes on it because I'm doing this from my mobile office here, so I can't unfortunately react to the video for you guys like I could in my studio. But he starts off, Harvey Levin, by saying, this Don Lemon arrest, Trump wonders why people compare him to a dictator. Trump's always wondering why he's getting the dictator references. This is why. I mean, it's unbelievable. This honestly is a major threat to our way of life here in America. And he goes on to just spout off all of this stupidity. He says the First Amendment. He goes on to say, first and foremost, hey, hello, Thomas Knapp. Hey, I recognize you from past streams. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Big supporter, too. I appreciate you. What a baby. Stopped watching that bullshit years ago. Yeah, Mad Rush 2.0. Let me tell you something. I was going to say this a little bit later on after I made my point, but TMZ peaked when Britney Spears was having meltdowns. And God bless Britney Spears' soul. I'm a young millennial. I'm a 90s kid, so I have a special place in my heart for Britney, that poor woman. She's accountable for her actions, but man, she was treated like shit. TMZ was part of the problem, too. But TMZ was peaking back then, man. I remember being a teenager. I couldn't stop watching it after school. I'd be like, man, look at them following around all these junky celebrities, So TMZ hit its peak about 20 years ago. And the fact of the matter is, Harvey Levin proved why TMZ sucks. He proved why he's a tabloid journalist, because everything he said was so beyond stupid and moronic. Hey, hello, Chesed 2024. I recognize your name too. Good to see you guys coming back. I appreciate you. You don't interrupt a church service. We'll get to that, Thomas Knapp, and I agree. Now, what he went on to say, Harvey Levin, he said, the First Amendment, I took notes on it. He said, the First Amendment is the most important and essential to our democracy. What a fucking idiot. I'm going to explain to you why that's wrong. Because at the end of the day, what is a democracy? A democracy is just a system of government where people vote and elect their leaders. You actually don't need freedom of speech to do that, believe it or not. There are actually, at least they're called democracies, that exist around the world currently, where countries don't really have great freedoms of speech. They don't even have great freedoms of press, yet they're still a democracy. Believe it or not, you actually don't need all of the constitutional rights that America has in order to have a democracy. I know people will find that shocking. I'm sure people like Harvey Levin would find that appalling and shocking, but it's true. And to say otherwise makes you sound stupid and uneducated. Okay, so I wanted to cover that right off the bat. Secondly, Harvey Levin, in his rant against Trump here and Don Lemon being arrested, went on to say that the First Amendment is perhaps the most important amendment in our Constitution. That's also not true. I think anybody who knows anything about history, anything who knows anything about tyranny, tyrannical governments, the way our country was founded, will quickly point to you that the Second Amendment is actually the most important because it allows us to hopefully never need to do this, but if needed, to defend ourselves from tyranny and a tyrannical government, which is why the Second Amendment exists, and therefore it protects the First Amendment as well as pretty much all of the other ones, really. Men with weapons protect society. That's how it works. I know it's cliche, it's a boomer thing to say, but it is true. Freedom ain't free. And it didn't come, the cost was, unfortunately, men had to arm themselves. They had to take up arms and in a lot of cases sacrifice themselves. So no, the First Amendment is actually not the most important amendment, Harvey Levin of TMZ. And also, you don't actually need the freedom of speech or press for a democracy to be established. I wanted to point that out right off the bat, just because it really triggered me. I was like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Please, Harvey Levin, you want to complain about Don Lemon, or a fellow journalist, a fellow reporter being arrested, by all means, I guess, but stick to tabloid journalism, okay? We don't need a lesson from you on what's important when it comes to America. First of all, we're not even a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Secondly, we don't need a history lesson from you, Harvey Levin. We also, we really don't even need the rant, okay? Mind your own fucking business. You know, I know Britney Spears is old now. She doesn't do anything anymore. Find some new celebrities to chase around, all right? It's really more your niche. But, you know, hang on. Actually, I'll take a look at some chats here. Sigma Boy, all right. Huntington Laner Mission Park Library Green? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. By the people, for the people. Yes, exactly. And we're a constitutional republic, not a democracy. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Thomas Knapp. Absolutely. So, Harvey Levin would go on to say that he was outraged that a journalist filmed he called it a demonstration and covered a protest, he called it, outside of the church. And of course, they wound up going inside the church. You know, Harvey Levin was sticking up for Don Lemon here. He said, you know, this was just journalism at play here. He was reporting on what was happening. Maybe Harvey Levin hasn't seen all of the footage beforehand, but Harvey Levin had foreknowledge of what was about to take place for about an hour. There was about an hour of a time lapse here where Don Lemon pulled up to the church, saw everything that was happening. He clearly had gotten wind to it even long before that, which is how he knew to go there, by the way. And if I remember correctly, wasn't he like passing out something to the protesters? Maybe I got that part wrong. But I remember for about an hour he was there, and there's all this footage that was released showing that. And why is that important? It's because honestly, Don Lemon did violate the law. He broke what's called the FACE Act, which is free administration to clinic entrance or something like that. This was an act that was established in 1994 under Bill Clinton after born-again Christians, and I think even some Catholics too, were protesting outside of abortion clinics. They were going actually pretty hard too. They were chaining themselves to the doors at points in time, sitting down in front of them, blocking them. They were interlinking hands and blocking entryway to the abortion clinics. And Bill Clinton decided that was enough. We couldn't tolerate this anymore. And he created the FACE Act. He passed the FACE Act, and it basically barred people from being able to block entryway to buildings, clinics, etc. However, at the time, there was such outrage because back then people had a little bit more balls and were still willing to defend religion to some degree, a lot more than they are nowadays, it seems. And so to be more fair, Bill Clinton realized it would be a PR disaster to persecute or target Christians in such a way so openly without having something be introduced in there to benefit them too. And so thanks to Bill Clinton, we can officially say, the FACE Act was also created to include churches and places of worship. You could no longer disrupt that or bar entrance to it. It was people's right. It was established as a person's right to worship, etc. And so the FACE Act was created in 1994, and Don Lemon violated the FACE Act along with all of those other people. Believe it or not, no, you cannot just storm into a church and interrupt the service, intimidate the people sitting there in the congregation to the point where they flee in terror, and then harass the pastor and force an interview on him. You actually cannot do that. And this is what outraged Harvey Levin here, because he went on to say something like, by the way, Harvey Levin, I don't know if I think he's apparently a Catholic. I don't know. I've never heard him talk about church or God or religion all that much ever. But you got to love these kind of people out here that exist. It's like they're not Christian, yet they're the ones that are always the first to tell us about our religion. They're the ones that are the first to tell us, well, the church is supposed to do this, and this is what God wants, and Christianity means this. It's like, shut the fuck up, bro. You don't know the first thing about church, religion, or Christianity. You're a tabloid journalist who made a living off of chasing down Britney Spears. Shut up, Harvey Levin. You have no fucking clue. A church is private property, believe it or not. He goes on to say, well, what church do you know has a no trespassing sign? What church do you know won't allow people in through the front doors? My church that I grew up in, actually. We actually had nut jobs try to set fire to the building of the church that I grew up in, and we did have to have him trespassed, and we pressed charges on him, if I remember right. There's also definitely a no trespassing sign up on that church, because we've had problems with people. They assume this is the worst assumption about the church nowadays, and why religion needs to grow some teeth again in this country. Because they assume that, it's a church, so we can take advantage of them. We'll start parking our vehicles in their parking lot without asking for permission. No, actually, you won't be doing that. That's how you get your car towed away. But it's a church. Everybody's welcome. You're welcome to come in at worship. You can sit down quietly. You can sing the hymns. You can listen to the sermon. You can thank the pastor, ask him some questions, and then leave. If you're there unwanted, if you're there taking advantage and you're unwanted, you will be trespassed. It's private property. This is how churches are. Now, the other thing that I didn't notice Harvey Levin, I'm sure back in 2022, he didn't cover this and act this outraged. Because Harvey Levin would go on to say, Trump's arresting journalists. And now the FBI is raiding the homes of these journalists. These independent journalists have had their homes raided by the FBI, and there's warrants out for their arrest. Well, guess what, Harvey Levin? Did TMZ cover in 2022 when Joe Biden arrested a pastor outside of an abortion clinic who was in violation of the FACE Act because he was administering a sermon on the sidewalk outside that clinic publicly with a megaphone and praying for people as they entered the building? Eventually, of course, an administrator from the abortion clinic came out and, I guess, harassed the pastor's year-old son, and so the administrator wound up being pushed. Later on, that street pastor, was raided by the FBI under Joe Biden. He had his entire house searched, and he had a warrant. He had a warrant out for his arrest, and he wound up going to court. Thank God President Donald Trump got elected and pardoned these people. But I didn't see TMZ covering that and acting all that outraged back then. In fact, I doubt they covered it at all. Now they're outraged. And that, by the way, that was a violation of that man's rights by far. Camera footage would later on exonerate that pastor. I believe his name was Mark. Last name escapes me right now. But camera footage outside the clinic exonerated him pretty much. Under the Biden administration, with all the lawfare that we saw throughout that time, though, they were pushing hard for him to get prison time. I think they were trying to get him for 2 to 5 years. So TMZ wasn't covering that. But now Harvey Levin, from a fellow journalist to Don Lemon, another fellow journalist, I really feel for you, pal. It's like, give me a fucking break. I'll take a look at some comments here again. Personal experience doesn't make it common practice. The government is to serve the people. Yes. Hey, ho, ho, Juan, you gotta go. Okay. What's up? What's up, I don't know who that is. Hello from Iceland. Hello, Joe Snuffy 001. Appreciate you. All right, listen. So not only did Harvey Levin not cover that, and not only is he completely wrong about the First Amendment, it's not the most important amendment, and it's also not critical to a democracy. So he just sounds like an absolute fucking moron. But then he tells us what a church is. He tells us what a church is supposed to do. He tells us what a Christian's supposed to be. It's like, give me a break. It is insane. It is absolutely insane. He then goes on to rant about how 2 magistrates in the state of Minnesota, I believe is where this took place. He then goes on to rant about how, well, the Trump administration's really overstepping here. I mean, 2 magistrates in Minnesota decided that Don Lemon wasn't worth bringing up charges against him, and they absolutely refused to do so. And he says that should have been enough, basically. That's what he's implying there. That should have been enough. Two separate magistrates, judges, said, no way are they having anything to do with Don Lemon. We're not going to press any charges. We're not going to prosecute this at all. But then he goes on to rant about how a grand jury did. And I kid you not, he rants about it. And he says, well, a grand jury won't indict anybody. They always get tricked. It's like, listen, Harvey Levin started off this speech talking about the First Amendment and democracy. Then you fast forward just, I kid you not, about 2.5 minutes in, and now he's complaining about how people have come together in a grand jury and made a decision that Don Lemon should face charges for this, possibly. Are you for democracy, Harvey Levin, or not? Because now you're hating on grand juries, and I can't think of something that's more we the people-ish, we the democracy. We're really a constitutional republic. I can't think of better examples, honestly, or only a few better examples maybe, than a grand jury deciding this. And truthfully, let me make something very clear to everybody here. The fact that two magistrates in Minnesota would have nothing to do with Don Lemon and what he did with that church that day, violating the FACE Act very, very openly, tons of proof online of it. But then the fact that a grand jury of people decided, no, actually, this is wrong. We want to see Don Lemon go to court over this, possibly go to prison over this, actually, should tell you something. And what it should tell you is the judges in this country are beyond corrupt. They're beyond wicked, and they are failing to represent their own people. This is actually startling, in all honesty, and it shows that. And we've been going through this process now under this Trump administration for the entire time, actually. These low-level district court judges have been weaponized constantly against this Trump administration. And you guys, listen, tuning in for the first time, maybe you don't know, but if you've seen my videos, you've been tuning in, you know I'm very critical of this Trump administration, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. This administration deserves so much criticism right now, mainly because they don't go far enough, in my opinion. They're not dealing with things properly, and that includes these low-level district court judges. And I understand you have to impeach them, and we don't have enough people in Congress for that, blah, 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 or Senate even as well. But the whole point about this is the judges aren't even representing the will of the people either. Why? This is a big problem. It's a massive problem. The grand jury deciding that they wanted to see Don Lemon brought up on charges possibly should really tell you something here. And I find it ironic that Harvey Levin wanted to sit there and virtue signal about this and say, well, this is against the democracy, the First Amendment, and the democracy it's the most important thing. But the grand juries are so stupid. It's a culmination of just everyday American people who will believe anything. It's like, fucking hell, you stupid fuck. You don't understand. These liberals out here, these TDSers, they don't get it. They just don't get it. So the people, democracy, apparently it only means something if they're standing up for the First Amendment when it comes to independent journalist rights to storm into a church. But if they come together in the form of a grand jury and make a unanimous decision against Don Lemon, now all of a sudden, well, we don't want that, do we? I mean, oh my God. All right. He clearly violated. Yes. Who's saying? Yeah. What? Oh, somebody's. Are you actually trying to look like Tim Pool? Because of the beanie hat? No, I'm not trying to look like Tim Pool. It's a little chilly out, okay? I got a beanie hat on today. Grandma? I don't have any more grandmas. They're all gone. Every single one of them. All my grandparents died when I was like 7. Actually, my one grandma died when I was like 3. No pizza rolls for me. A constitutional republic is still a democracy. You're not really in the know. You're not really understanding what you're saying there. There's some stark differences between a republic and a democracy. Harvey has no idea what a Christian is. It is not his religion. What a hypocrite, says Mad Rush 2.0. Agreed. You sound like a complete moron. The First Amendment is critical for a democracy. Otherwise, you don't have a democracy if you cannot speak without the fear of being imprisoned. Move to Japan. Okay, move to Japan. Let me ask you something. Let me frame it to you like this. Can a democracy exist without freedom of speech? That being, of course, a democracy, meaning you line up to vote for your elected leaders as a population. Can you vote for elected leaders without freedom of speech? Can you or can't you? Is that impossible? If so, then the First Amendment's not actually critical to a democracy. Pretty easy. I mean, it's not hard. It's really not hard. You may think, well, it's critical to a fair democracy, a realistic one. It's just a democracy. It's just where people vote. It actually happens already across the world, believe it or not. Freedom of speech isn't really a privilege everywhere in a lot of these countries, but many of them at least claim to have a democracy. So this guy is so stupid. You've never heard the phrase "a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich." Well, maybe not, because the guy who, hang on, let me read it. Let me try to read it like what this guy's voice actually probably sounds like. This guy is so stupid. You've never heard the phrase "a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich." Well, maybe not, because the guy who threw the ham sandwich at the ice couldn't be indicted. All right, thanks for your opinions, bro. They're so valuable. Move to Japan. I can tell you're such a smart guy. You should probably like live stream or something. I bet a lot of people want to hear your opinion. My grandma's dad, says David School Sim. Yep, my mom died too, and I think my family. Okay. All right, Chess said 2024. Thank you. Maybe a little oversharing there, but I love this. You just read my insults. Awesome. Hey, I'm a freedom of speech absolutionist. I'm a freedom of speech. You want to come on here and insult me? By all means. You just read my insult. By all means. I don't care. So any thoughts on Trump's calendar girl parties? Fake news. Just saying the stuff you are ranting about is not important. Okay, fair enough. Find it here. I'll help you out. Daniel Great Alexander. There we go. Go find another stream, bitch. You've been deported from American Advocates. Your citizenship is fucking revoked. Go find another stream. All right. Anyways, what I wanted to cover here as well with Don Lemon here, after he was released, I wound up seeing some footage of him walking down the sidewalk. And I got to say this about Don Lemon, something that I noticed. Don Lemon was very giggly after being arrested and presumably sitting in a jail cell for some period of time, because he was in there for a couple of hours, it seemed. I was anxious to see what would happen. If you know anything about the prison system here in America, or the jail system rather, if you get arrested on a Friday and a judge isn't quick enough to sign off on your release, you actually have to stay the weekend. And so for a little while, I was like, no shot. They did this on purpose to keep Don Lemon in prison for the whole weekend. And that was really making me laugh, because I was like, yes, this is not, like I stated at the beginning, this is not something to celebrate. It's a minor thing. And I'm going to rant on the Trump DOJ in a few minutes here. But it does put a smile on my face, okay? It does make me a little bit happy. I do smile a little bit at the idea of Don Lemon being arrested, and I smiled a lot at the idea of him actually having to get fucked over and stay the entire weekend. That would have been hilarious. Unfortunately, you know, when you have a big enough name in this country, you do get a little bit of extra special treatment. So clearly a judge released him quick enough, and so out he went onto the sidewalk. He did a little makeshift interview. He was very giggly. It sounded like, you know, it's the kind of giggles that I've heard from women before, actually, in my life. And, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that. I won't say too much more, but it sounded like he had a couple of reasons why he was giggling, almost like he was recalling some good moments in there. Could just be me. But then he says, you know, he goes on this fiery tirade, Don Lemon. This is his big moment. Like, he's a martyr now in his mind. He just went to jail over the First Amendment and at the hands of this big, bad, cruel Trump administration, this fascist regime. So he goes on to say, well, I'm not going to stop now. It's all about the freedom of press, and I'm happy to do this, and I'm happy that this happened to me. This is what it's all about. The freedom of press now more than ever. We need independent journalists out here more than ever to cover these kind of stories and put the real truth out there. I'm Don Lemon. I'm the spokesman of truth. In my mind, it's like immediately just rolling my eyes. I agree with him, though. Now more than ever, and continuing on in the future, we do need more independent journalists out there covering stories and putting out the truth. I immediately think of people like Nick Shirley, Nick Sortor, Cam Higbee, you know, these kinds of people who are actually out there, man on the street, putting their lives at risk to expose all of the corruption. They're chasing down Antifa. They're exposing Somali fraud. They're putting out the information that we deserve to have. You know, James O'Keefe. If you don't follow that's a follow right there. Follow O'Keefe on X. Undercover journalist, puts out some of the best content I've ever seen. It's actually mind-blowing what he gets people to confess in public places after meeting them for an hour. Those are the kind of people we need more of. People like Don Lemon, we don't need any more of them. We actually need Don Lemon to fade away into obscurity. And what's tragic about this, unfortunately, is this is going to boost him up for at least a little while. Now he's going to have all this extra attention on him, and the Democrats are going to pretend like they did with Jimmy Kimmel, that Don Lemon now is like the most important journalist out there. You're going to see this liberal talk. I've been a Don Lemon fan since day one. This guy's my favorite. He's probably the smartest black guy I know. You're going to see all the bullshit out there. It's such a joke. But we're just going to have to suffer through that from the left and just, at this point, just laugh at it. But that is the one downside to this. So he said that, and immediately that's what I thought of. It's like, that's Nick Sordor, Nick Shirley, Cam Hibby. These are the real independent journalists we need more of. Don Lemon, go away. Please, just go away. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm going to dive into my Trump DOJ rant here in just a second. We get to go into the weekend smiling about Don Lemon. He was very happy, it seemed, to be in jail today and arrested. But we do need to discuss some serious matters here, and we need to get back to reality here when it comes to the Trump DOJ and arresting Don Lemon, because, this is nothing to celebrate. And I'm going to cover that in 1 second. I'll take a look at a few of the comments, though, before I do. Don Lemon, Mr. Irrelevant, says Mike Curley. Exactly. By the way, I see you got viewers in here. Please, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to like the stream. It helps out with the algorithm. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe right now to American Advocates for more content like this. I'm probably going to be going live on this channel every day now at this point. I started going live about a week ago, and I love it. I love it more than making long-form content and putting it out. It doesn't, YouTube doesn't like the long videos anymore, but it loves live streams. So I'm going to keep doing this. We're going to keep pushing ahead. Appreciate all the support too. He got fingerprinted and a mugshot, says Mad Rush 2.0. Yep. They treated him pretty good, if you ask me, says Mike Smith. Yeah, he was giggling for a reason. Lemon's a joke, says Kelly Rowe 5584. Indeed. Don brought extra soap to drop. Wouldn't surprise me. MAGA are like, we know, let's arrest journalists after executing citizens. That'll be great for PR. Hey, I'm in favor of both. And it wasn't an execution. Alex Preddy deserved everything he got. They acted within reasonable force. I've covered this before, and I'm going to cover it right now for about 30 seconds. The bottom line is Alex Preddy wasn't a protester. He was an agitator and a harasser of ICE. Alex Preddy brought a loaded sidearm with him and decided to impede ICE officers and their federal law enforcement agents. Not only that, but he had prior incidents with these people a week prior, and very likely several other times prior. He was nearly arrested, and if the Trump DOJ had the proper balls and were allowing these federal officers to just flat out arrest these people, very likely Alex Preddy wouldn't be dead right now, because he would have been arrested and facing charges, and rightfully so. He kicked out a headlight or taillight of an SUV that was a federal law enforcement officer's SUV. He also spat on them. He's a nurse. He was a nurse. You swear the Hippocratic Oath, I believe it's called, as a nurse. When you're a nurse, you swear an oath to do no harm. Spit is actually dangerous, and people don't realize that, but potentially it's dangerous. Disgusting. He violated his oath. I expect nothing less out of a liberal psychopath like Alex Preddy. And protesting is not following law enforcement around town and trying to stop them from acting on their actual duties, which, by the way, is the will of the people. Trump was voted into office to deport people, believe it or not. That was one of the main reasons. And Alex Preddy decided to strap a gun to his leg, carry extra clips with him while he did so, and he decided to impede them, and he decided to resist arrest, and very likely the gun, when they were disarming him, misfired because he was carrying a SIG, and that's a gun that's known to misfire. And so it very likely misfired, which obviously triggered the reaction that he got, which was ICE officers shooting him. It's him or them. It's him or them. It all happened in about 10 seconds. People say, well, it wasn't correct. It wasn't correct. It doesn't matter. What matters when it comes to law enforcement is what's reasonable, what's done reasonably. And that was a show of reasonable force to a man who had a prior history now of disrupting them, kicking their SUV, spitting on them, and ultimately bringing a loaded gun in the process while doing so. Of course he got shot. Of course he was going to die. You know how you avoid that? Don't do any of that. Protesting is when you create a picket, you stand on a sidewalk outside of a public government building, and you protest with other people, presumably. Protesting is not running into the middle of the street to stop federal law enforcement officers from doing their job while you have a gun. End of story. Very easy. Who cares about our amendments? That's not what I'm saying here, but you go off. You go off, King. Don broke serious law along with the others. The FACE Act. People aren't understanding this, but the FACE Act was created, and you gotta love the irony of this. Before I rant about the Trump DOJ, you gotta love the irony, right? The FACE Act, created by a Democrat, Bill Clinton, to stop Christians back in 1994 from protesting abortions aggressively like they were. Some of these Christians were chaining their arms to the handles of doors of these clinics. It's actually very liberal-like behavior. The liberals do stuff like that nowadays, by the way. They'll literally glue themselves to the road. They'll chain themselves to the door. They'll interlock their hands and block traffic. It's like, by the way, we never create any laws stopping that. For some reason, I mean, it's already unlawful to block traffic, but you never see a president like Trump go out and say, these liberals, that's it, I'm creating the No Stopping Traffic Act. If you do that from now on, it's 10 years in prison. You don't see that because the liberals get away with their bad behavior, and that's why I'm about to rant about the Trump DOJ. But these Christians, they were doing that back then. So Bill Clinton said, you can't be doing that. It's a medical clinic. It's a medical clinic where you go to kill your children that you don't want, you whores. So you're denying them medical service. You can't block the entranceway. The FACE Act. At the time, of course, I already explained the history of it. I'll do it real fast again. Christians were outraged, though, and it looked bad to Bill Clinton, who would have been obviously up for re-election soon and wanted to make sure he could get reelected. He didn't want to discriminate super heavily against the Christians, so he threw in places of worship. He's like, well, this will apply to places of worship too. You can't disrupt worship services, and you can't block entryways to places of worship. None of that. It's their right as well. So Christians are included in this, actually. That was his political spinoff. That was, of course, weaponized against Christians once again back in 2022 on various different pastors who were preaching outside of abortion clinics with a megaphone, etc., praying for people. And under the Biden DOJ, several pastors had their houses raided by the FBI. Their houses were searched. They were served with arrest warrants, and they were criminally prosecuted, facing prison time. Trump wound up pardoning most of them, I believe, or all of them, hopefully. And it's just ironic now, deliciously so, to watch it come full circle to where a Democrat act that was meant to discriminate against Christians and was used by Biden to do so has now come full circle. You don't get to see this too often when it comes to the Democrat Party. They're the ones that usually are using the loopholes against the Republicans. But now this is a win in my books, even if it's not worth celebrating all that long, and I'll tell you why in a minute. This is a win still just for the fact that the Democrats have to eat their fucking medicine. They have to taste it. And it probably tastes real sour to them about now. Don Lemon violating the FACE Act, a place of worship, was disrupted. And I don't know if you saw the footage. If you're a liberal, you probably didn't because you can't stomach the truth. But I watched the footage of him outside the church. It was disgusting. Children were crying, people were fleeing the church, and he was walking around the perimeter saying, well, I imagine they feel a great deal of trauma right about now, but, that's what protesting's all about. You're not supposed to feel comfortable during a protest. Funny enough, just like Mr. TMZ guy didn't seem to care about ranting about the FACE Act being used against the Christians in 2022 by Biden, I didn't see Don Lemon saying something like that during January 6th. Oh, I imagine people are feeling they're feeling traumatized right now outside of this Capitol, but that's what protests are all about. It's not about being comfortable. Nobody was saying that on J6, were they? But there's Don Lemon outside of a regular church, a normal church, where Christians are fleeing in terror. Their children are crying because a bunch of 300-pound black women stormed the church, and they were screaming on megaphones, and Don Lemon was there, Oh, this is so traumatic for them, I'm sure, but this is how it is. This is what protesting is. You fucking piece of shit, Don Lemon. I'm glad to see him arrested. And, the bottom line is he's never going to see prison time for this. He probably won't even get fined for it, and he should, at the very least. But it is still a delicious, ironic win at this point in time. So I do like that. Now, the Trump DOJ. This is where I want to rant about this, because this is not enough. And by that, I don't mean Don Lemon going to prison. I don't mean him getting fined. like I said, he very likely won't be getting, neither of those things will be happening to him. But what I mean it's not enough is don't celebrate this too much. I hate to be the Debbie Downer going into the weekend. We can all smile about Don Lemon finally getting arrested. He's a jerk off. But it's not enough, okay? And the first thing I noticed, of course, was Pam Bondi rushing on Twitter this morning to say, at my direction, federal agents served Don Lemon an arrest warrant and placed him under arrest, along with, I wrote down their names too because I'll never remember them otherwise, along with Traharn Jean, just name your kids normal names, Traharn Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, that's at least an easy one, and Jamael Liddell Laundrie. And she put this on her tweet, and it's like, oh, we're supposed to be like, Pam Bondi, total redemption, Pam Bondi. These are the arrests we're talking about. This best attorney general ever. Like, I swear, when I listen to her talk, when I see her make these posts, it's like, I think that's the reaction she's expecting. And no, she doesn't deserve that reaction. This is one of the worst attorney generals I've ever lived under. And Don Lemon is a nobody now. He's irrelevant. He's spiking up right now temporarily, but it's going to be Jimmy Kimmel-esque. His 15 seconds of fame will be up pretty quickly, and he'll fade back into obscurity again until he does something crazy again in the future probably. But we have to keep that in mind. Properly frame this in your mind, especially if you voted for Trump. This is where you have to constantly bring yourself back down to reality. Remain real about this. This is an independent journalist, and what he did was gross, and he deserves consequences for it. But these are not the deep state arrests we've been asking for. This is not the deep state. Don Lemon is not smart enough to be in the deep state. He's not powerful enough to be in the deep state. And he hasn't done anything that suggests he's deep state. He's not deep state. And we want the deep state arrests. Simultaneously today, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, released more documents. And I've been so busy working my normal job today, I haven't had a chance to look at those documents very closely. But what I saw was that these documents now implicate former President Barack Obama even more. And apparently, according to the reports that I got to read, they directly link Obama to the coup attempt against President Trump in his first term. These are being released right now by the Director of National Intelligence. And when we're talking about arrests out of Pam Bondi, we're talking about people like Bill Clinton. We're talking about Hillary Clinton. We're talking about Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Obama himself. Yes, we want to see Obama arrested. That'll never happen, but we shouldn't stop asking for it all the same. You know, all of these people, Letitia James. And really, what's important to remember here is, yes, Don Lemon got arrested, and Pam Bondi threw herself out there like a whore on X and said, at my direction. And of course, Kash Patel, too, the useless director of the FBI that he is, he joined right in as well. Then later on, you see Pam Bondi film a selfie-style, 15-second video. If you attack a place of worship here in America, we're coming for you. I'm sure Don Lemon is so scared right now. I'm sure he thinks that his life is over for the next 10 years. And I say that sarcastically because I think we all know how this will play out. Don Lemon got arrested. Hooray, that's funny. It's great. It's great to see at least some arrests being made. But how many people right now actually think Don Lemon is going to prison? If you think Don Lemon's going to prison right now, put a 1 in the chat. I'll take a look at the chat right now, too, before I finish up this rant here. Hurricane Crossfire. Yes. Michelle, 7506, Hurricane Crossfire. Why do you want Obama arrested? I don't know. Why don't you take a look at everything that's been put out about him? Have you not kept up on the Russia hoax and how that was proven to be a hoax, weaponized against Trump in his first term? Like, all this information's out here. It's being put out by Tulsi Gabbard. We have so much information out here now, actually. It's almost inexcusable that these people haven't been arrested. And let's not forget, under this administration, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were summoned. They were summoned before Congress, and they literally said, oh, no thanks. What? That's called being put in contempt of Congress. This happened under Biden, by the way, I believe, if I remember correctly. And Biden had those people arrested, frog-marched, I think, if I remember correctly. But under Trump, under this weak, toothless Trump administration, the Clintons can just go, oh, no thanks. We're not going to that. Congress, they're demanding we go before them, a committee or Congress. We have to go before them and test. No, thank you. And that's how that plays out. So Don Lemon being arrested, it brings me back full circle. Great. I'm smiling at it, but this is nowhere near good enough, and it's nothing to truly celebrate for long. My kid goes on and gets 100 and something likes and has not even 1,000 followers and gets more like than this lame shit, says Lord Buddha 2468. Well, how does your kid get so many likes? Have him tell me all of his secrets. Is your kid? I bet you your kid's trans. I bet you that's what it is. He's a freak show, and so he probably gets all the views for that. I mean, I could dye my hair blue. I could chop my pee off, but that would dishonor my parents. I actually have normal parents that don't want me to do that. I don't have two moms. I have a mommy and a daddy. Okay. And they don't want me to do that. So I can't do that. I'll grind it out the normal way, even if it means a little bit slower. We love Trump from Australia. Hello from Australia. Hello there. We love the Australians that are based. You guys have Sky News over there. Sky News is pretty fun to watch. Trump love. Feel free to leave America if you don't like it, says Richard Smitty. That's the way. This is the way. See, the ones are coming in. So people putting a 1 in. I said, put a 1 in if you think Don Lemon's going to go to prison. Come on, guys. 0. Yeah, that's okay. There's a couple zeros. 2, unfortunately. Yeah. Hey, be realistic. I appreciate that. KTZ6423. Guys, 0. There we go. Thomas Knapp. Fuck ICE. Okay. Well, wonderful. Fuck ICE, says the illegal immigrant. 1. Listen, guys, I wish I had your optimism, but Don Lemon, under this administration, I would be shocked. And I hope I'm wrong. Don Lemon going to jail. And by the way, I'll say this too. Even as a Christian nationalist, what Don Lemon did was gross. But I also actually would not actually want somebody like Don Lemon going to prison for like 10 years or something. I actually think even in this case, it's excessive. But if he went there for 6 months to 2 years, I could see that being a little bit more reasonable. I wouldn't mind that. I would think it would be somewhat appropriate. He should also receive a fine for this. But none of that's going to happen to Don Lemon. None of it. This was premeditated. He knew it was premeditated. It was violating the FACE Act. Therefore, it was a crime. Don Lemon had knowledge of it about to happen, didn't try to stop it, didn't call law enforcement, and then tried to fall back on like journalistic immunity, which is really not even a thing when it comes to this situation. So, he's getting what he deserves, and he probably should wind up getting more than what he'll actually get out of this. And that's what's so important to remember here when it comes to this Trump DOJ. They're still weak, and now what sucks about it is I have a feeling that they're going to use this, especially this year with midterms. Like, it's going to be embarrassing for them, actually, if they lean on this too heavily. But a part of me thinks they'll try. A part of me thinks they're going to go, well, we got Don Lemon. Like, please, in October, when midterms are coming and they're looking for any reason to sell themselves to people to vote Republican again, I hope to God I don't have to hear that. But we got Don Lemon. And it's like, no more arrests. October will come. We'll still have not gotten any deep state arrests. Pam Bondi will still be sending strongly worded letters, which she now openly says she does, to people who are politicians in Minnesota over their antics with the Somali stuff. I'm sending strongly worded letters. Does she not know that's a meme on the internet used to make fun of her? Why would she ever say that? There she was saying it on a video. We're going to go the rest of this year with strongly worded letters, with minor little arrests of small fries like Don Lemon. It reminds me of sitting out at around a campfire or something, or like you're like a survivalist and you've got some buddies and your buddies are all like, oh, I'm hungry, man. Yeah, we need some food. And you're like, I got this. I'm going to go fishing. And you go fishing for 12 hours. Everyone's starving. And you've sworn to them, I got this. I'll bring the food back. I'm going to fish and catch everything. And you come back with 1 minnow and you say, here it is, guys. Eat up. Eat up, guys. I caught a minnow. This is great, right? I did this in 12 hours only. I caught 1 minnow. We're going to feast tonight, boys. That's what it kind of reminds me of right now with this Pam Bondi bullshit, this Trump DOJ bullshit. They caught a minnow. It's nowhere near enough. And now they're going to have to go all in on this because they know they're not arresting Obama. They know they're not arresting Clinton. The Clintons literally just in a power play demonstration, they just chose to ignore the call. They just literally said, we're not going. We're not showing up. Do something about it. It's all a dare. The Democrats are daring this administration to do more, and Trump won't do it. And he wouldn't do it last year. He was getting cucked last year, let alone this year with midterms on the rise. He's more afraid than ever to act the way he should be. So that's just where I'm at with this right now. You get this information out there, and it's just like, we're not going to get the arrests. This is a nice occasion to smile about. I hate Don Lemon. I'm glad to see him arrested, but don't be celebrating this for too long, and don't let the Trump administration use this as a massive achievement. It isn't. Hold them accountable and demand the real arrests. Why are you talking about they just got held in contempt with Congress? I didn't see that, and even if they did, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think Bill Clinton is getting arrested? Do you think Bill Clinton's going to prison for that? Honestly, guys, don't even bother putting the ones in the chat. I don't even want to see it at this point, okay? Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, I would almost bet money on them not going to prison under this administration. Do you think Christ would be a Christian nationalist? No, Christ's purpose was never about one country. But that's not what Christians are called for. There's plenty of examples, actually, of nationalism in the Bible. Actually, the Old Testament is pretty much all about nationalism. It's actually literally about God giving his people the land, and they protect the land. It doesn't get much more nationalist than that, actually. Cash and Pam are a joke for sure, says Thomas Knapp. Yeah. This DOJ, it has to get swapped out. This DOJ, and Trump's not going to do that either. And, I read this interesting article about Pam Bondi. Actually, I'll save it for a video. I've been meaning to make a video on this. But there's an interesting article. I'll give a little bit of a teaser here. There's an article out there that it's from The Atlantic. Who knows how trustworthy it is. But Pam Bondi didn't even want this position, from what I'm reading. And I don't have a problem believing that. It seems like she's been nothing but actually talked into all of the positions politically that she's ever held. And I have no problem believing what the article said, because it goes on to say she actually wanted to be an ambassador. And in all honesty, my honest opinion is, if Trump wanted to replace her, soft fire her, he should transfer her out of the attorney general position and move her to be an ambassador to Sweden or something. Women probably make great ambassadors. Women in general should not be in politics. It's a man's world. They don't have what it takes. You can't hold women accountable. They'll literally blame men. I mean, we even saw that out of Marjorie Taylor Greene this year. The moment she quit, she goes on these unhinged rants about men in power and men in politics. It's so disgusting. Women should stay out of politics. They should literally just shut the fuck up and stay home for the most part. But as ambassadors, natural negotiators, that's what women are. They have to negotiate differently because they exist in the world differently. And so if there's one position where women definitely belong in, it would be ambassadors. Friendly, courteous, negotiating. That would be a great role for Pam Bondi, in all honesty. And that's what Trump should do. He should replace her with some Tom Homan type motherfucker, throw him in as the attorney general or somebody like him who has the law backgrounds needed, but give that position a personality like a Tom Homan personality, and we're going to get arrests all of a sudden. We're not going to get that under Pam Bondi. She's afraid. Pam Bondi is afraid. She's terrified. And I think partly that's because she saw firsthand what Democrat retaliation looks like, because in Florida, she was the state attorney general there and helped represent Trump against a lot of the Biden DOJ lawfare. So she saw it. And I think she's terrified of retribution if and when Democrats regain control of power. We cannot afford to have somebody in that position like that. We just can't. We need a guy. We need a man in that position who has the courage to do what is necessary. I do think Matt Gaetz would have done a better job, a much better job, actually. And I think somebody like a Tom Homan is what's really needed for that position. Not a woman, not Pam Bondi. Here it is. This guy just never evolved out of high school dating scene. A lot has been explained. Well, do you like Pam Bondi then? MDR 2784? Are you here to simp for Pam Bondi, you little simp pussy? Captain Overspeed. Lemon absolutely deserves federal prison. Hey, I mean, I would be happy seeing him go away for a couple months to up to 2 years. I think that's appropriate. It won't happen, though. I literally change tires all the time. I work on my own car. It's not hard. I literally own the jack. I own the jack stands. I own a tire iron. It's very easy. I actually got a flat a few months ago. Put the spare on myself. I'm a big boy now. You need Christ, not nationalism. We need both in this country. We need both. Read the word of Christ, bro. You need his help. I got his help, actually. I'm a born-again Christian. Thank you. You're just, Cameron, your problem is you were raised on a bastardized, feminized version of Christianity here in the West, and it's for pussies. That religion that you experienced growing up is run by women, and it's allowed to be run by women, by men who submit to their wives. Weak, pussy, lazy men who don't want to step up and take charge, allow their wives to run the show, allow women to be the voice of the Holy Spirit, even though we have a Bible that pretty much tells us what we should or shouldn't be feeling. And that's the problem. You're not used to Christians who are displaying a strong message. You're used to the kind of Christians who are meek, the kind of Christians who keep their head down and try not to offend anybody. And where the fuck has that gotten us in society now? As Christians, we're called to be the salt of the earth. And salt doesn't mean zesty. Salt doesn't mean flavor in the Bible. Because if that were the case, God wouldn't hate sodomites. God wouldn't have banned homosexuality. If he wanted a little more flavor out of his disciples, right? But that's not what God wants. Salt is a preservation method. Salt is powerful, actually. If you consume too much salt, it's overpowering. It hurts, actually. And salt is used to preserve. We were supposed to preserve society. That is the duty of the church and of religion. We're supposed to protect the morality of society. And the problem with modern day Christianity, especially in the West, is it's run by women, it's been taken over by feminism, it's non-confrontational, and it's filled with literally pussy bitch men who couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, let alone confront anybody about their sins or wrongdoings, because judge not lest you be judged. You know, all of these misnomers. That's the real problem. You're not used to a strong message. It's time for you to grow up, dig deep, find your balls, and get out there and advance the kingdom of God. And that's what this channel is all about, in all honesty. It's about several things. It's mainly a political channel. But yes, the Christian message is important. It is time for Christian nationalism to rise again in this country. This country was founded on Christian principles. And I got news for you. A lot of the founding fathers, most of them, even though a lot of idiots will say, well, there were some deists there. They all recognized a higher power. Many of them were Christians. They believed in God, and they were fucking savages, okay? So learn American history and learn the history of your actual religion, not this bastardized, evangelical religion where women control everything. Time to move past that. Let's repeal the 19th while we're at it. In God we trust, says Michelle 7506. Absolutely. And man's chief end is to glorify God and to enjoy him forever. Don is a lemon. Yes, he is. His whole channel is a lemon. Everything about him. His reporting is a lemon. I don't even go to church. I don't even go to church. Oh, okay. So you're leading yourself. That sounds smart. Not Allah or Lucifer. Those aren't God. Yeah, exactly. Although I will say this about Islam. Man, do they got a lot right. Islam is a masculine religion. I say this all the time. I think it upsets a lot of people. I am jealous of Democrats and I am jealous of Muslims. And people say, well, why would you say that? Those are the ops. Yeah, they are. They are the ops. As a social conservative, fiscal conservative, Christian nationalist, those are the ops. I'm jealous of the Democrats. They play from a stance of strength. They know how to use power when they have it. They play to win. Republicans are such pussies. They're spineless. They play off of their virtues. They don't play to win ever, and it infuriates me. So I'm jealous of Democrats. I'm also jealous of Muslims. They keep their women in line. They know. You cannot make fun of Allah if you're a large TV network. You can make fun of Jesus all you want. No blowback, no retribution, no threats, nothing. Everything's good. But if you make fun of Allah, if Don Lemon, did Don Lemon storm into a Muslim prayer mosque? Did he storm into anything of that sort? No. Do you think it would have looked the same way had he done that? Do you think it would have gone over the same with liberals especially? No. There's a reason for that. Muslims believe in their God. Muslims defend Jesus more than most Western Christians do because they still revere Jesus as a prophet. Muslims defend their God much more than Western Christians do. Muslims defend their rituals and practices and religion much more than Christians do. That's why I'm jealous of them. That's what a masculine religion looks like. And Christianity doesn't have to be so bitch-made and pussified. Men just need to step up and lead it back into the right direction. We need a massive course correct in this country when it comes to that. But that's why I'm jealous of Democrats and Islam. It's not because I believe in any of it. I think I think they're both demonic. But I'm jealous of the way that they know how to wield power, the strength that they exhibit, etc. So that's a harsh reality. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but it's so true. All the founding fathers were not Christian, and America was founding on different religions and some Indian beliefs. Wrong again. Yeah, every one of the 13 original states had a state-identified religion that was all a subsect of Christianity, and some of those states actually made it pretty much mandatory for the elected politicians to be Christian. That's what I mean by time to return to Christian nationalism. Go educate yourself on American history, you absolute fucking moron. 3,000 gods to choose, they're all fake. There's only one real God. His name is Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior. He's the only God. In Jesus' name, amen. Founding fathers were Protestant, you fucking dunce. It's a masculine religion of knowing who brings what to the table. Fuck this guy. Total brain rot. All right, farewell. I do. I live in the trunk. MB 33705. I live in the trunk. I just live in my car. That's why I got I try to look as homeless as possible. People make fun of Allah all the time. Where on television is Allah made fun of? Point to me any serious major network that's made fun of Allah and gotten away with it. South Park tried. Go look that up. South Park tried it. South Park's ballsy. And South Park, I don't think, wanted to pull the episode, but the network that aired it pulled it. Because why? Muslims said, this is outrageous. How dare you make fun of us? And they all called in. They threatened to blow up the place, probably, knowing them. I actually think that's legit. I think that's what actually happened. They were getting, like, death threats. They were getting all kinds of calls. Angry Muslims were calling nonstop. They said, we got to pull this episode. And they did. Jesus, however, you can make fun of Jesus all you want. That was actually part of the premise of Kanye West writing his song, Heil Hitler, is it? He wrote that song, I think, in response to the fact, partially at least, to the fact that he talks about how that they don't want him saying Jesus. They don't want him saying the word Jesus, but apparently you can say pretty much anything else. There's one reason why Jesus' name above all else is the most hated. And even worse yet, Jesus' own people, us, the Christians, we don't do a good enough job of defending that. It's actually called love others, not be hateful. Yeah, well, you don't even know the difference, really. You again, feminized Christianity. It's disgusting. Love and hate. Believe it or not, speaking from a place of strength, judging other people is actually a duty of ours. Okay, judging other people it's actually natural. You literally judge people every single day of your life, and you're supposed to. On top of that, it's not hate, and the truth is never hateful, ever. I'm goth and even I agree, says Bobby Walker. Hey, welcome to the channel, man. Bobby Walker 9936. Be sure to subscribe right now to American Advocates if you haven't. I think you're crazy. They don't know how to wield power, says the CH Cam. You're talking about Democrats? They are a little, they're on the back step right now. Trump, I'm very critical of Trump. His strategy's terrible, but his tactics are great, and that's why they hate him. His tactics are awesome. He rattles their cages. So we are seeing perhaps the sloppiest form of Democrats we've ever seen. But usually, and even now, they wield power very well. They're cunning. They're very cunning people. But this is the sloppiest incarnation of them because, like, he has them on the back step a lot of times. They don't know how to respond to somebody so confrontational. They're used to Mike Johnson-esque type Republicans, really. So I understand where you're coming from on that, but don't worry, Islam will take over. We already have Mumtaz. Wait, who's that? Hassan, I thought that said Hassan Abi for a second. I was about to say, aren't you banned on Twitch, motherfucker? We already have Mamdani. Yeah, in Dearborn, Michigan, too, right? You guys are taking over. You're colonizing America, damn it. Say something good about Christ now. What is your favorite teaching of Christ? What is my favorite teaching of Christ? I've never even thought about that. There's so many good. I literally just put out a live stream last Sunday about how Jesus loves borders. God loves borders. That might be one of my most recent favorite teachings of Christ. You mean Christ from the Gospel? You're talking about Christ from the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John? I'll have to think about that. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. If you tune into another stream, I'll give you an answer on that one. I've always referred more. Some of my favorite passages in the Bible are actually, I like Romans. I like Acts. I'm also a big Proverbs guy. I'm a big Old Testament guy. I love the Old Testament, very Old Testament. And of course, you know, if you're a pussified Christian, you go, well, the Old Testament was eradicated by the return of Christ, even though it literally says he did not come to abolish the law. And we need to get back to a lot of Old Testament principles, in all honesty. So I'm a big Proverbs guy. I love Deuteronomy. I find it fascinating. I love Exodus. Proverbs lines up perfectly. You can read one every single day. There's 31 verses or 31 chapters. Jesus is an idol. Ugh, what an idiot. Already did research yourself because America was founded on what I said, plain and simple. Yeah, that's not a counter. Try again. Tim sits on a fence. Doesn't sound like he is sitting on a fence. I don't sit on any fence. Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I get really fence sitting. Fence sitting is only good people who love something shoved up their ass. That's not me. I don't sit on any fence. I make it very clear which side of the fence I'm on, and I never cross. Narrow is the path. I am on the narrow path. I know what that path is. I will not yield to anything. No compromises shall be made. We need rigidity. We need people who are morally clear on what they want. We need people like that in politics. Fence sitting is lame, and I can't stand when I come across political channels that fence sit. And there's a few of them out there. And it's like, how about you fucking man up and pick a side? Like, you can't be fence sitting in 2026, okay? That was something you could have gotten away with 10, 15 years ago. You're younger probably back then. You're like, oh, I don't want to, politics is really disruptive. It's time. We're in an ideological war for this nation right now. You can't fence sit anymore. You're either with us or against us. And there is no unity. There's no unity anymore. That is a myth. There will never be unity. The liberals are disgusting. They're not worth unifying with. And we need to eradicate their ideology entirely. That's the real goal here. So fence sitting, that was so 2012. It's time to move past fence sitting. I mean, I just want them to apologize for weaponizing immigration and we can get back to sanity in this country, says Gob is 3SY. Nah, man, listen, it's more than that. The Democrats literally hate you. The Democrats hate Americans. They know they're not popular with Americans as a voter base, and that's why they weaponized immigration. It's to replace us. They need people who will support them. It's all about the census count that's coming up, right? And it's about future voters. And it won't be Americans. They know that. It won't be American men, especially. It won't be young American men. If you're a young American man, if you're a millennial man, if you're especially a Gen Zer man, and you're an American and you're white especially, there's no reason for you to like the Liberal Party. They despise you. They literally despise you. And what's the best example of that? It's called Charlie Kirk, okay? The reactions of the liberals said everything you need to know when Charlie Kirk died. And I bet you the pussy Christian in this chat right now, or the guy who thinks he's a Christian, right? I'm a Christian, bro, and Jesus turns the other cheek. I bet you that he'll say, well, we should unify with them, and God forgives and turns the other cheek for them, and we should always forgive the liberals. We're past that point. God can forgive them. I don't. That's not my job, actually. And I'm here to be the salt of the earth in the right way. We need Christian nationalism back in this country. That's what we need. It's very simple. It's very simple. And if people aren't going to abide by some sort of a morally upright principle again, then perhaps they shouldn't be in America anymore. That's really where we're at. Like, these people are toxic to this country. There are traitors in this country, and the founding fathers, I won't even say what founding fathers would have done to traitors. But there are a lot of traitors. I think of Alex Preddy, I think of Renee Good. Those are just two examples. But then to see somebody like a Charlie Kirk be assassinated, and to see the response out of the liberals in unison. I have a 20-minute compilation video on this channel of all of the liberals responding in glee to Charlie Kirk's death. You should go check that out. Be sure to subscribe to American Advocates right now, actually. Turn on post notifications. Give the stream a like. That 20-minute compilation will be eye-opening to anybody. I put it together to make the statement. So therefore, now when I talk about Renee Good and I talk about how her death's not a tragedy, and I'm glad she's gone, now you can understand. You can understand what it's like, because they're thrilled that Charlie Kirk is dead. And Charlie Kirk had a family, he had a wife, and all he was doing was speaking. Meanwhile, you have Renee Good, the ditch licker, who's married to a woman who has children, by the way. That child is much better off without her. And she drives, what was it? Was it across state lines or was it a few hours away? Regardless, she drives, impedes ICE, blocks them with her vehicle, nearly runs one over as she's trying to get away, and then gets mag dumped. And people want to pretend that's a tragedy. And it's not. It's just not a tragedy. And then they go, that's disgusting to say that. No, first of all, it's not disgusting. And second of all, they were worse when it came to Charlie Kirk, who was actually innocent. And where's the Christian in the chat? Let me see him. Is he here still even? He probably can't even believe it. He probably can't. He probably, I can't believe this. That's not Christ-like, bro. Sorry, I'm just spitting facts over here. You're not used to actual truth being talked about by a Christian. Bro, what bullshit are you watching? She literally live down the street. She just dropped our daughter off at school. What the fuck are you talking about? What? What are you talking about? Break the cycle of hate like Christ advocated. This is not hate. This is called righteous indignation. Learn the difference and stop being a cuck. You are not Christian. Yeah. It's such a shame. It really is such a shame. There's a day coming where men rise up and they tell women finally to shut the fuck up, stop henpecking. Like, listen, who's in here? Was that a woman who was telling me that? Yeah, who's this Rose Reed 53-5? Not a Christian at all. Not tisk. Listen, I don't get henpecked. I don't get henpecked by women I date, let alone ones I'm not dating or fucking, okay? Shut the fuck up. Go make a sandwich for your husband, all right? Get off this chat. I don't need a lecture from a woman, all right? All right, Rose Reed, thank you. You can go now. This is a channel for men who are concerned about America and are concerned about saving the American society, saving our nation, and restoring Christianity back to what it's supposed to be, a masculine religion ruled by the patriarchy. That's what Christianity is. We don't need any more women telling men what to do. We don't need any more women trying to instruct men on virtues and morality. We'll do that for you. You submit to the hierarchy, okay? Okay, sweetheart, thank you very much. Yes, says Juan. See, look at this dude. Juan Cuevas. Dude, This is why I actually I love Spanish people. They understand. They're so much more base than people give them credit for. Dude, Spanish men, Mexican men, they're like, fuck yeah. Women need to shut the fuck up. They're so annoying. They get it, dude. They literally get it. That's why they come here, and the Democrats are like, yes, we allow, and no offense, listen, like, we can't keep allowing illegal Mexicans in this country, okay? I love that you're supporting the message. We got to shut down the border, though. We just do. And if they're here illegally, they got to go. But I do love when they come here, and the Democrats literally think it's a win. They're like, yes, future Democrat voters and supporters. And then it's like, no, actually, the Mexican men, they're, like, traditionally conservative. You don't get it. They come here because this is the best alternative to where they're coming from. But once they're established, no, they actually agree with conservatives more often than not. And they're deeply, like, I think it's Catholicism that they subscribe to. We'll take it. I'm Protestant, but we'll take it. And they're all in. And it's just so funny to me. It's like the Democrats, they were blindsided by that. And it's funny. They were raging when Trump won over Kamala. They were blaming black men and Hispanic men. They were like, well, black men and Hispanic men are so misogynistic that they'd never vote for a woman. And this is the problem. It's like, well, who let them into the country? I mean, you open the borders. You're garbage, says David Sullivan. Spanish is. Oh, thanks for the lecture again, Rose Reed. Shut the fuck up. Hey, Rose Reed, all you need to know is I like turkey. I don't eat ham anymore. I like turkey. I'll take lettuce. There better not be tomatoes on my sandwich. And I'll take some mayonnaise, a little bit of pepper, toast the bread, and cut it diagonally, not down the middle. If you cut it down the middle, I'm going to be very pissed. Get to work. Turkey tastes like napkins. Yeah, dude, listen, ham's more flavorful straight up, but I'm not doing the pork stuff anymore, man. I'm not doing it. You got a fridge in that crib? It's in the trunk where I sleep. User WQ68. Dude, can some of you people fix your usernames? I'm trying to give you guys shout outs when I read your chats, but it's like user whatever. Yeah, I got a fridge in the trunk. Yeah, it's where I sleep. Middle cut sandwich is underrated. I mean, listen, there's only one sandwich. Isle Wad come 20. There's only one sandwich that you want to cut down the middle, and it's a grilled cheese. That's the one you want to cut down the middle. But not a turkey sandwich, man. Nah. You got to cut that one diagonally. Let me drink some water here. No bacon. I wish, man. I've been moving away from pork. I actually was watching a health YouTube channel, and it's actually centered around Christianity and stuff in the Bible. And they made an interesting case in point on it. I think his name is Dr. Josh Axe. Dr. Josh Axe. Check out his channel. The Biblio diet. And I was always raised on the whole New Covenant thing. Jesus said we can eat shellfish and pork now. But man, pork's full of parasites. And there's a reason why the people in the Old Testament were instructed not to eat that stuff, and it really hasn't changed nowadays. You fast forward to current day, and it's not like it's not like God eradicated parasites from pork. It's still in there. And I was listening to that video, and I was like, you know what? It's probably better I just don't eat it. Like, I don't really like ham outside of ham subs and sandwiches, and bacon is good, but if you've never had beef bacon, I highly recommend. It actually hits the spot almost the same way, and then you don't have to have the pork version. And I know that sounds archaic to some people, but I think upon further studying of the Bible there, when it came to the New Testament passage where he was talking about what you can put in the body, etc., I think people might be taking that out of context. I do. I was almost sold on it enough to decide I'm not going to have pork related products or shellfish for the next year or two and see how I feel. No, I do not want Sharia law. We need to eliminate. We need to revoke citizenships for most Muslims here, in my opinion. We can't let these people into like Dearborn, Michigan. That's a tragedy here in America. 52% Muslim population. That's a colony. And they want to talk about how white people colonize America. We have Little Somalia in Minnesota. We have Dearborn, Michigan, full of Muslims. Those are colonizers. That's what colonizing looks like. We have to put a stop to that. I do not think the earth is flat. That is such a moronic viewpoint. You're homeless. Why? To save money. All my money is stuffed under my mattress. I don't believe in banks. Big recall on their food. Said hi. Hello, Rasta Omega. Just don't undercook your pork. I understand. I do get that. But there's even some stories out there. You would think like wild boar, for instance, would be safer because it's wild. But there's stories out there, and I even personally, my grandpa was a big hunter, and it's like wild boar. You cook it thoroughly, and there are stories out there I've been told, passed down from other hunters, where it's like they start eating that stuff. They cook it thoroughly. They hunted it themselves, and all of a sudden they're getting yellow lesions on their back. They're getting sick more often. They stop eating the boar. They don't eat the pigs on their farm, because I have a lot of farmers in my family too. And all of a sudden, that stuff goes away. Why? Why? So, and I'm sure, I'm sure some people might spend their whole life eating that stuff and be okay, but I don't know. Look into it. Most people don't want to know. That's the other thing, and I don't blame them. But look into some of the dirtiest animals on earth. It's shrimp. It's shrimp and it's pork when it comes to parasites and dirt and uncleanliness. So, just something to research, something to think about. I think people might be getting those verses wrong. Just had listen, and by the way, it's tasty, all right? You want to flaunt it in my face, Mr. Allen Camp over here, just had barbecued ribs. It's not like I don't know what I'm missing here, all right? Barbecue. By the way, though, real talk, I always hated ribs because of the mess. I'm a big fork and knife kind of guy when it comes to eating for the most part. I don't really like to eat with my hands. I think it grosses me out. Big fork and knife guy. But ribs do taste, they're hella good. They do taste good. Bro, how is shrimp dirtier than a fish that munches shrimp all day? Well, it's not like it's a great thing for at that point either, but look it up. I'm not this is science. You can look it up. Shrimp they're like cleaners of the ocean. That's what they do. They're like natural filtration kind of creatures. So look it up. It's interesting. How is pork dirtier than a cow? I don't know. Okay. I don't make the rules over here, guys. I'm just telling you what I've researched. Pork belly's delicious. Listen, it is. Streamside bottom feeders. Yeah. Bro slurps Hey, that's not very... Whoa! You're a Christian and you're saying that? You should be ashamed of yourself. Bro slurps leftover condoms from the sidewalk because he saw on Fox News. That is reprobate humor, young man. And you need to repent right now. Bear meat, squirrel meat, boar meat. When wild, it can be very risky. Yeah, my grandpa used to hunt bear too, actually. Bear meat I've heard horror stories about. That's not one I'd ever eat either. Squirrel meat, I actually used to know a squirrel hunter. He used to kill it would take 40 squirrels to make a squirrel burger. It was absurd. And I remember my one coworker was obsessed with it. He was like, dude, bring me a squirrel burger. It's like, it's just not even appealing to me, Like some animals aren't worth your time, Squirrels are definitely one of them. Shrimp they're bottom feeders. Yeah, people don't know that. They're bottom feeders. And as tasty as lobster is too, what do you think these animals are? Lobsters and crabs and shrimp? They're like the insects of the sea. You're eating a bug, basically. You're just eating a giant bug that lives in water. I mean, there's really not much of a difference. That's kind of what they are. And then they're like the bottom feeders and the cleaners of the ocean. They're the filtration. I don't know. I've never even been a big seafood guy. I like a nice salmon. I like, I'll cook up a nice salmon. Salmon, your body loves, salmon's one of the best foods you can eat. It's literally regenerative to your body. But other than that, a good flounder here and there once in a while, snapper, but, tuna. I like tuna. Sardines grew on me a lot this past year. I always thought sardines were gross because you grow up with a mom who tells you that. And then I just was like, fuck it. I'll just try sardines. It comes packaged like tuna. How bad can it be? It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I was like, this is okay. I'll toast up a couple pieces of sourdough bread, put some sardines on it, some diced onions, diced green onions, all good. I cook up a nice salmon in my Toyota. Same, bro. Same. I got the oven in the trunk with the fridge, man. I can't since I quit weed. Hey, good for you for quitting weed, though. That's for losers. That's good. I'm proud of you. Akuma Bazooka, Akuma Bazooka, YouTube has to go. Good for you for quitting weed. Weed's overrated. People always trying to disrespect the frustration. Hell yeah. All right, guys, listen, I'm long overdue for getting off here. I appreciate all you guys for sticking around, though. Be sure to subscribe to the channel right now if you haven't. Drop a like on the stream. If you wanted me to see something in the chat that I didn't get to see, this will post as a video on the channel. If the comment is worth my time, because I already explained to you I'm not eating swine, I'm certainly not going to cast pearls to swine either. But if you leave a comment you think you want me to see that I missed in the chat and it's worth responding to, I'll respond to it, all right? But thanks to everybody who tuned in. Don't celebrate Don Lemon's arrest too long. That was the point of the stream. Let it put a smile on your face. It is a win, but the Trump DOJ cannot get away with this any longer. We need the real deep state arrest to happen. We need justice in this country, and we're still not getting it. The cost of living sucks. We're not getting true justice. It's all the makings of a revolution, if you ask me, and I don't want to see that happen in this country. We don't need that to happen, but we do need stronger people in the DOJ, and they're going to lean in on this Don Lemon arrest. We can't let them. We can't let them. This is a small fry. This is a minnow in the ocean. We want the big names. That's what we demand. And we have a right to demand it as we the people. Glory to America. God bless the USA. And God bless you. Thanks for watching. Take care.